Hello there. Today we're going to talk about building a Python guess the number game. And we are starting with some basic code on page 125 from Murrock's Python programming book. This is the actual code from the book, and I thought we would run it and then make some edits to it. So let's go ahead and run it and see what's happening here. This is a very simple guess the number game. The code is going to randomly generate a number from 1 to 10 and we're going to guess. So I'm going to start with 5. It's going to give me some feedback, too low. So I'm going to go to 7, 9. Okay, I guessed it in 3 tries. Would I like to play again? Oh, I can play again. Sure, we'll try it again. And 3 tries. Click no, and then it's going to give me a goodbye message. So let's take a look at the code here. First off, we are using an import statement, and we're going to import random, and that's going to allow us to use the math random function. You will see that we're using that here in line 22, and what's happening is we're getting a random integer. We're passing it the starting number 1 to the limit, and here we have defined the limit as 10. Okay, so this is a little bit different because we're going to use functions for the first time in our program. So this might look a little different. Prior to this, we've been coding from the top down, and we haven't really been organizing our code into any sort of functions. So this week we're going to start using functions, and the way Python functions work, it might look a little bit different to you who might have been programming in other languages, but basically what we've got down here is we have an if statement, and it's looking to see if this is the main file, and if so, it's going to call the main function. The main function is basically the main controller for the program. From within the main function, we're going to first call the display title function, which is all the way up here at the top. And this is just going to print something that says guess the number. And then we're going to set a variable for our game loop to yes, while a while statement. So while again dot lower is equal to yes, we're going to call the play game function. And that's where everything's going to happen here. The play game function will set a secret number randomly from 1 to 10. It's going to print a message giving the player the information as to what the range is, and then we're going to set a counter, and that counter is going to count how many guesses we're going to give. So while true, we're going to ask for their guess, and then we're going to give them some feedback. So if guess is lower than the number, we're going to say too low. We're going to increment the count because that is keeping track of how many guesses it's taken. If it's higher, we're going to print too high, still going to increment the count. And if it's correct, we're going to go ahead and print the, hey, you got it, and it took you this many times. Okay, so that's the main section. If they say no, it's going to go ahead and print by, and that's the end of it. Okay, so now that we have a good understanding of what's happening in this program, we're going to make some changes to it. So first one is we're going to ask for the player's name, output their name at least once. So that one's pretty easy to do. We can create a function here, and we like to put our functions above the main, and I always like to kind of keep them in order as well. So maybe we just call this one get name. Functions all have parentheses after the name of the function, followed by a colon, and it has an indentation. So the parentheses, you might see them empty. That means there are no parameters or no arguments, but you might see variables in here, and when we get to that point I'll show you how that works. But the way I like to think of functions is kind of like playing catch. So if I call a function without any arguments or any parameters, I'm just basically telling the program, hey, go ahead and do the stuff in this function, and we're good. But if I send it some information like a variable, then I can work with that variable and I can get that variable sent back to me, or maybe it's just going to calculate something with that variable, and that's how I kind of see it as catch. So sometimes you'll see something in the parentheses, sometimes you won't. So in this case, we're just going to go ahead and have a simple input. Let's just say player name. What is your name? And then we can greet them. Hello. I like to just use a comma here. Hello, and then player name. Now, whenever I code, and hopefully you guys are probably sick of hearing this message by now, I like to test things. So I've created a function. This function has not yet been called. So if I ran the program, nothing would be different at this point. I need to put that function call inside my main function. And let me double check what I call again. It is getName. I guess it could be called greet player. I mean, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to test this, make sure it works. What is your name? There we go. Hello. Works great. Again, you might want to put a little bit of, put a blank line in there, separate things. Okay, so we've got that working. I'm ready to go on to the next one. So check. Ask the player if they would like to play an easy, moderate, or hard game. So as it stands right now, this is a very easy game, 1 to 10. We want to make some changes to that so that we can kind of give the player something to choose from. Okay, so maybe in play game here, I'm going to just go ahead and instead of setting my limit, which I have created here as 10, I'm going to first ask what sort of game they would like to play. So let's just say level equals input. What game level would you like to play? E for easy, M for medium, or H for hard. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ask for that. And then I'm going to put some if statements in here. So if level dot lower, I'm going to go ahead and put lowercase in there because they might put a capital E, they might put a lowercase e. So if level dot lower equals E, then let's go ahead and put our limit equal to 10. And what do we have here? Range of 1 to 10, limit tries to 5. Okay, so I'm gonna say, so I'm just gonna make this be max number is 10 and tries equals 5. Okay, and then I'm gonna say elif level dot lower equals M. I'm going to set these to something different. Max number equals 100, tries equals 8, and then elif level dot lower equals H. Max number equals 1000, tries equals 10. And then I'm going to do else print sorry, invalid input, please try again. Okay. Okay, it's giving me a little warning that I haven't used this yet because I haven't. Okay, so I'm going to set my number from 1 to what? To max number. And I'm thinking of a number from 1 to, I'm going to change all these limits to max number. Count equals 1 while true. Guess, if guess is, okay, so that all works. You guessed it, and that should all work. So let's see if this works so far. Oh, I've got tries. I haven't done anything with tries yet. We will go ahead and work with tries here in a second. So let me run this. What's your name? Okay, what game level would you like to play? So let's go ahead and pick E. So it got that number right, 1 to 10. And there we go. You guessed it, in 3 tries. Would you like to play again? Okay, so it seems like that's working well. If I wasn't on video, I would go ahead and test out all of those, but I feel pretty confident if one of them works, that all of them will work. And I'm also going to want to make sure to test for invalid input as well. Okay, so we've got this working. It's telling us how many tries we've got it. So we've got the count working correctly. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm including how many tries they have. So I need to do something to check to make sure that the count is still going to be less than or equal to the number of tries. Okay, so for me, I think the easiest way I can do that is to change this while statement. So I'm going to say while count is less than or equal to tries. Okay, so again, for this, you might want to just adjust some of these. Like, obviously, if you want to test for the hard level and you don't want to have to go for 10 tries, you can modify that to like 2 or 3, so it's a little bit less work for you to use your test. So while count is less than or equal to tries, I'm going to ask for a guess. If this statement is not true, I'm going to have an else statement. I know some of you get a little confused with the indentations, so that else statement I want to have attached to the while. So I'm going to line it up to the same one. So I'm going to have an else, which is basically like if this is false, it's going to do this else. So I'm going to put a message that says, sorry, you ran out of guesses. The number was, and I'm going to tell them the number because we don't want to frustrate our player. So then I'm going to say the number was number. Okay. So let's test this out. I'm going to stop here. Let me go ahead and run. Just going to put an X in here. Okay, E for easy. So I'm going to do 5. It says it's too high. So I'm going to keep going higher. And make sure I have 5 attempts. So there is 5. And then it says, sorry, you ran out of guesses. The number was 4. Would you like to play again? Okay, so I feel pretty good about that. So that was ask the player if they'd like to play easy, moderate, or hard game. I've got my ranges and everything. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this limit is equal to 10 because we don't need that anymore. If the player doesn't guess the number in the required amount of tries, they lose the game. Okay, got that. And then this one, keep track of the wins and losses for the player, displaying the score before asking if they'd like to play again. Okay, so we have a counter here, and this counter is how many guesses they have. So now we need to have a counter that is set for how many games they win. So where are we going to want to put that? So remember, when we do play game, that is going to be called every time we start another game. So we need to set our counter somewhere else. So let's see. So when they win, we know it's here in this guess equals number. So what I'd like to do is create something. Let's see, where is a good place to put this? Because I can't just say, would you like to play again and assume that they have won. Here I'm going to return. All right, so let's say I'm going to have another variable and it's going to be called wins. Wins plus equals wins. So what that means is I'm going to increment wins. But what I want to do is I want to know how many wins they have. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push an argument or a variable to this function. All right, so stay with me here for a second. What I want to do when we start the game is I'm going to initialize wins to 0. Okay, so first let me just put this in. Initialize variables. I'm having a problem typing. Okay, so while again is lower, I'm going to play games and I'm going to pass it wins. Okay, so this is the catch. So I'm taking this wins, which when we first start the game is going to be 0, and I'm going to put it into this program, and then when I return, I want to return wins. Okay, because I want to play catch between these two. So let's see if this works. All right, so let me clear this. Oh, I need to output my wins. Hold on one second. You guessed it, in so many tries. And then I'm going to say print, you have 1 wins games. All right, let's see how that goes. Okay, X, E, thinking of number 5, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, ran out of guesses. The number was 2. Okay, it's not printing my how many times I've won yet, so I might need to put this in a different place. But I haven't won yet, so let me try and win now. All right, let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Uh-oh, it says I guessed it in 5 tries and I have won 0 games. So I have done something wrong. Wins. Oh, you know what? I think I might have flipped that around. Let's try one more time. Okay, E, 5, 6, 8, 7. Nope, still not working. All right, I'm going to pause for a second and try and figure this out, and then I will come back and give you the solution. Okay, that was easy. I totally created my statement incorrectly. I wasn't supposed to add wins to it because that would be 0 plus 0. I needed to add a 1. So wins plus equals 1. I should have known that. I just had the count right above it. But sometimes we make mistakes. All right, so let me try it one more time. X, E, 5, 3. Okay, you have won games. I might need to put a little statement in there. Would you like to play again? Let's try and see if it works. 5, 7, 9, and I have won one game. Okay, that didn't work either. So let me see what's happening here. I believe I need to do something like this. All right, let me try it again. X, E, 5, 3, 4. Yes, 5. Oops, I gotta catch that. Now I gotta do it all over again. Okay, you've won 2 games. Finally, it's working. All right, so why did I have to fix that? Okay, so because I was returning a variable, again, playing catch, I had to return that variable, but I had to call the function in an assignment, a variable assignment. So basically, it takes the return here and assigns it to wins variable again. So now when whatever I have 1, so if this is 2, then wins is now going to be 2. So when I come around and say, yes, I want to play, it's going to go ahead and call the function, pass it the number 2. Then if I win again, it's going to throw back 3, which is now going to be stored to wins. Now, this is kind of a bit of a convoluted way to get around having to use global variables and things like that. So there's multiple ways that you can do this. This is kind of the way that I have started to work on this lately, just because it saves me the trouble of having to work with those global and local variables. So if you have a better way that you'd like to do it, then by all means, feel free to do that, but that's kind of the way that makes sense to me right now.